Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for the host, Rick. So, as you can see there on the top, I've got all my radar programs going. Keeping a close eye on this, I kind of predicted that this thing would get stronger, and it did. It's 1 mile per hour away from making Cat 3. It went down to, let me transition here. It went down to 105 on the winds, and it jumped right back up. And I had a feeling that it was going to do that, and it's still got a possibility on the next update that it could be Cat 3 again. Now, yesterday when we looked at the radar and the satellite, which I'm losing daylight, but I wanted to show this to you. The eye yesterday got real ragged, real bad. It just looked horrible. And I was going through all the models early this morning. I didn't live stream because I was laying down, and I hate doing that. But I had the feeling, just had that feeling from what I was seeing. Look at this eye, and I'll zoom in on it here. Let it load up. Before it gets dark, you can start to see the ocean again. Thanks, Molly. You can start to see down through that eye. She's really tightening up. And we'll switch over here to the radar site at Jacksonville, Florida. And look at that thing. It's not jagged. It's still kind of wide. But look at those yellows and reds. Those are storms that are trying to fill in all the way around that eye. So she's getting stronger. Now notice on the rain bands, they're barely coming inshore. There's a good reason for that. And I'll show you that here in a bit. But let's get to the specifics first. Get that out of the way. This is the latest update as of 8 o'clock. Hey, Becky. Patty. Hey, Patty. Thanks for that Tybee beach cam. It's getting pretty dark now, so you really can't tell much on it. But I was watching that today. And hello to everybody else. Thank you for joining me. But right here, it's still Cat 2. It went from 105 earlier today back up to 110. And the pressure on the last big update was 961. Well, look at that. It's dropped down to 959. There's another sign that it's trying to re-strengthen. It's still moving north-northwest, which I don't like that, but it is 8 miles per hour. Yeah, there are several Twitch channels that are trying to do what I'm doing. And I think one of them might been our guy from the other night. Yeah, you sent me one of them, Patty, but I was looking last night. I actually had a whole bunch that showed up in my list, and they were all doing Hurricane Dorian, and that's cool because as long as they give the most accurate and up to date information. That's cool because they can get their followers up to date. But most of them don't have a whole lot of followers, and a lot of people, aren't watching them. But there's actually been some outer band storms that's already pressing up there, but going to be another day yet. Now, what I'm worried about is Charleston, South Carolina, because, well, let's go do this first. I got to switch the screen. Pull this down from monitor 3 and zoom out. Let it load since I zoomed out. See all that goldish brown? That is dry air. And it is affecting it. It really is. That's the reason why when I show you on the radar there, whoops, daggone, I forgot to transition. I keep doing that. I got too many. I got 3 mice, 3 computers, too many things to keep track of. Anyway, so the reason why those western bands of rain are not further inland is a lot to do with this dry air. Now remember, the last several days, and I got to zoom out, and it's got to flicker a little bit till it loads everything. Remember I mentioned about a trough that could affect this thing? I want to show this to you. Now I'll pause it here. Notice when I let it play how this is pushing down. That's the trough. And it's going to come clear down here. Now, the trough, if y'all been watching me for a while, the trough is a dip in the jet stream, the upper level winds. A ridge, which they got out west right now, is where the jet stream goes north. And it pulls in warmer air. It's typically related to a high pressure system. This is related to a low pressure system. And it makes the jet stream dip down. And what's going to happen, according to all the models, this jet stream dips all the way down. Those winds are going to go that direction. And it's going to pull Dorian right along with it. So let it go ahead and play. And you can watch these clouds, up around Kansas City and that. Look how they're dipping down. Hey, how y'all doing? That's that trough, or a dip in the jet stream that's coming down there. And I've been, trying to go through and figure out what the timing's going to be when it does get down there and how it's going to affect Dorian. All these steering factors is what's been determining whether or not this thing is going to go north, west, whatever. It's been all these steering factors. Need to find something here. Something ain't working right here. Okay, right there you see the H. That's a high pressure. There's high pressure right there. Counterclockwise motion, it's trying to steer it. In the meantime, we've got a cold front in that trough that's coming down. It's kind of pushing it. But that high pressure system, I think, is going to try to drop down in here. And it's going to help push it because the cone and the models are saying that this thing's going to really speed up on its forward movement. So that's only one of the steering factors. Now we've also had that high out here in the Gulf that's been trying to help it, but that's not strong enough to shove it east. So it's going to allow it to ride right up that coast. Look at infrared, and I'll zoom back in on it. Now, one of my biggest worries for the last couple of days, it's looking pretty bad for Charleston, South Carolina. Tonight, about 1 o'clock in the morning, they're going to have high tide. And as this thing goes north, those winds out of the east are going to start causing storm surge. And like I told you the last couple of days, but Charleston sits in a valley. All the ground around it is high or higher. And they got a river on either side that's going to try to drain all this rain that they're expecting to hit. Now, this dry air is affecting it right now as far as the band's going inland. And I'll go back to the radar. Excuse me. I still got my coughing problem. Yeah, Charleston will flood not only with a good thunderstorm. They don't have to get any storm. They flood sometimes from high tide. They sit that low. But the really bad thing about this is as these winds start pushing that storm surge into the rivers, and they're expecting to get as much as 10 inches of rain, is what they're saying right now. They get 10 inches of rain. All that's going to try to drain into those two rivers, but the two rivers can't drain because the storm surge is pushing the water right back up in the river. So Charleston's guaranteed to flood. Excuse me. I couldn't mute my mic fast enough. So let's go look at the cone. Look how far they've got this cone. Ain't that crazy? That's one of the longest cones I've ever seen. Now notice how far apart those round dots are on that black line, on the center line of the cone. The further apart, the faster it's going to be going. But let's concern ourselves right here. See all that pink? That's storm surge warning. All that pink along the coast, that's all storm surge. Those are all storm surge warnings. So all of those areas will get affected along the coast. But as this thing turns more, it's going to start, especially now that it's getting stronger, it's going to start evacuating that dry air around it. And once it does that, the rain, the outer bands and the outer parts where all the rain is going to start shoving more inland. So all these areas are going to get hit hard. And look at these wind fields. Now the center, the orange, that's your hurricane force winds. If it stays on the left side of that cone, and this thing has wobbled, it will put those hurricane force winds right into Charleston. The tropical storm force winds still go like 175 miles out, but the hurricane force winds is a lot bigger. That orange circle is a lot bigger than what it was last night. So, according to some of the models, and I'll only show you the one that's specifically made for hurricanes. There's still a possibility of the outer edge of the eye making landfall from Charleston all the way up to the Outer Banks. And this is the HWRF, and I'll play it here. Right there, it's about Charleston, real close to Charleston. The outer edge of that eye is right on the coast. And if this thing wobbles to the west, just a hair, and it has been wobbling, then it could make a landfall there. Now I'll go on ahead on this model, and you can definitely see when it gets up there at North and South Carolina border there, that part of the eye is showing on land. But the biggest problem is going to be up here at Cape Hatteras and the Outer Banks. There it's already made landfall before it even got there, according to this model. So anywhere from Charleston up to the Outer Banks is possible landfall over the next day or two. Tonight's worry is going to be Charleston for storm surge. As the thing gets closer, the winds will be coming from the east and pushing that water in. Storm surge inundation. Let's take a look at this. Okay, that yellow is 3 to 6 foot storm surge. The blue is 1 to 3. So 3 to 6 is the yellow. And you got blues all the way down through here with patches of yellow. Now, from what I've seen, and I don't think this is this is not even up to date yet. This is still the 5 p.m. But for what I've been seeing, they're expecting 6 to 8 foot storm surge there at Charleston, which is down here. And that orange, that's 6 feet or above. So definitely Charleston is going to get flooded. But it seems like they're ready, man. They're already been prepared for like 2 days. And this is going to start heading overnight. I probably will start broadcasting later tonight. Well, I'll be doing the 11 o'clock, and I'll probably stay online so we can keep an eye on this. There's not a whole lot to worry about right now. Again, here's the radar off of Jacksonville, Florida. Beautiful eye. Beautiful eye. But this thing has been wobbling all day. Well, ever since it left Bahama. Which, by the way, is more sad news. The number of deaths in Bahama went from 8 up to 20, and they're still searching. Any questions so far? There's been a few deaths. I think there's like 3 last I heard here on the U.S. Savannah, if you look at this, okay, Savannah right now, and the webcam at Tybee Beach that I was looking at earlier, that's out here on the point from Savannah, right there in the center of the screen. That's Tybee. And if you notice how these bands are coming down right now they're coming out of the northeast, so it's not really bad. They've got a lot of waves, some big waves, before it got too dark for the camera. But as this thing gets north, I mean, you're going to start seeing those winds pushing inward. And let's look at the inundation map. See what they're projecting for Savannah. They're calling for 1 to 3. I think it might be a little bit more than that. I think it's more like 3 to 4 on the storm surge. Hey, thanks you for the sub. Appreciate that. Tier 1 sub. Thank you very much. So let's go back. Again, for all of you just joining me, here's the latest information as of 8 o'clock. Still Cat 2. It was 105 on the winds. It's went back up to 110. The eye is trying to get tighter. Let me move the radar up here for the corner shot. Also, a lot stronger storms going around the eye. The pressure was 961. It now has went back up to 950, or went down, excuse me, to 959. The lower that number, the stronger the storm. Still moving northwest as of my latest update at 8 miles per hour, which earlier today it was only moving like 5, then 6. Thank you for watching my reports. I try to put out there the most accurate and update information. Plus, I try to explain what I'm seeing. There's several other Twitch channels. I'm not going to point them out, that are trying to cover Hurricane Dorian, and that's fine. That's great. Yeah, it gets more information out there. There was one in particular that they don't know what they're doing. Will Dorian be retired? Not at this point. Not at this point. It may be, though. Yeah, some of them other channels, they're playing music and showing webcams. I like to explain what I'm seeing. Means a lot. Again, let me go back to the satellite view. I wish I could show you the the visible satellite, but the sun's already went down. So here's infrared, and look at that eye, and look how dark. Now the beginning of the this is a 3 hour. Last I seen, Jen is headed north. Okay, I know her husband was just in contact with me, so she's okay. But notice on this 3 hour loop how that darkness starts wrapping around, and it's really getting stronger at that point. The darker that gets, the taller the clouds are, the stronger the storms are getting. I tell you what, last night I was watching this thing wobble, but it was mainly headed right for Savannah. Then it started changing to the northwest, but I was still kind of worried. Now, they haven't updated that yet, but if you watch this eye, that's going more north. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Becky, is she going to head up for Charlotte? Yeah, Patty. I think pretty much all of that, from Jacksonville, Florida, all the way up, they've had some many extra days to get prepared. That because it was setting, still over the Bahamas, so that put it 24 hours behind, or no, 40 hours behind. So I think they all, Savannah, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, I think they all up through there are really prepared for this. Yeah, she should try to get up to Charleston if she can get up there tonight. She might catch this as a Cat 3 making landfall. Now, I have looked at the Euro, the GFS, the NamNest, the HRRR, the HWRF, and they're not 100% agreeing, but it could go anywhere in that cone. And I'll show you the cone again. Remember, this cone is only for the center of it. If this thing gets stronger and really starts growing again, especially on that west side, as it gets rid of that dry air that's holding it back on that side, all it's got to do is wobble just a little bit, just a few miles to the west side of that cone, and it could make major landfall damage. Yeah, the wobble, it's not wobbling quite as much now as I'm watching the radar, but boy, it has been. Now, I do expect, because it's going to have to make a pretty good turn here, it might slow down in forward motion a little bit. They tend to do that. They'll start slowing down, and then they'll slowly start turning. This thing is still got so much mass that it's got to move when it makes that turn. And that's what slows it down. Yeah, if I was her, I'd head for Charleston, and then from there, I would go to Myrtle Beach, Becky. Hopefully she can get to Charleston in time. I mean, they'll start getting the storm surge and high tide at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's 8:45 now. I would think she would have enough time to get up there. Alex Wilson is there in Charleston from the Weather Channel, but she could still find some other spots to get some good stuff. but she's going to have to be real careful about flooding. Kelly got stuck there several years ago. So again, folks, here's your latest information if you're just joining me. I see my numbers really went up. It's still Cat 2. The winds earlier was 105. They have jumped back up to 110. As you can see on the upper left of the screen, the eye is tightened up again. It's not as ragged as it was last night. Pressure has dropped just a little bit to 959. That's another sign that it's getting stronger. Moving north-northwest at 8 miles per hour. Now, it did really speed up, 3 miles per hour, but that's a major speed up at this point. And I do expect it'll speed up a little bit more tonight, and it'll start making that turn, or trying to, and then it'll probably slow down again. That's what I'm thinking. I know once it does make that turn, the points in the models are further apart, which means it's going to speed up once it makes that turn. Yeah, well, right there on the screen, give them those websites. They live in Georgia. It's ready.ga.gov. South Carolina, SCEMD.org. North Carolina, ReadyNC.org. Let them have those websites. They can go there and find out all kinds of emergency information for those states, as well as evacuation zones. So if there are, and there is a bunch of mandatory evacuations, if they live along the coast, they may not be able to get back in there because they won't let them. Yeah, it's still huge. It's really huge. Now, remember over this past week how it's been what we call eastern loaded. All the big stuff was over on the east side. Now it's a lot on the north side, and a lot of that to do with the west side not really filled in is because of the dry air. The reason why it's more loaded on that north side could be that dip in the jet stream or a trough that's tugging at it already and tugging all the tops up to the north, as well as that high pressure system that I showed that's over to the east of it, and naturally clockwise rotation is going to shove up on it. So between those steering factors, that could be the reason why it's more northern loaded right now. No, those outer bands that are reaching up to the north, those don't necessarily mean there's rain. And let me show you. I'm going to cut over to satellite view, but I'm going to turn satellite off and let me turn the radar on. Now, the radar, the national radar can't pick up all the way around the storm naturally because that part is too far away from the coast. Okay, Molly, hang on and I'll show you. I have to get off my studio mode here. But look at this radar. Now, there is a lot of rain off the coast up here in North Carolina, but some of those outer bands are way up here, way to the north. But notice when I turn the satellite off, there's no rain up there yet. Yeah, I got time. I'll make time. Okay, I want to switch back to water vapor because I think it really illustrates what's going on in the atmosphere. So I turn radar off so it'll load up faster. And it's going to flicker while it's loading all the tiles. Okay, one steering factor that I've been talking about for about a week now is a trough, which usually is associated with a low pressure system. A trough is a dip in the jet stream. And I'm going to pause this. Watch how these clouds are. Watch, I'll put it back in motion. Look where they're going. I can see right there without even going to the upper level wind models that it's pushing that jet stream down. And the reason why is there's a low way up here. See the counterclockwise? So what's going on here is the jet stream is dipping down. And it's going to dip down even more. It's going to be coming like this and right up the coast. That upper level jet stream will grab a hold of it because they're a lot faster winds. The higher up you go in altitude, the jet stream gets really fast. So it'll start, if it hasn't already, and this could be, like I was saying, the reason why she's gotten more northern loaded. But that's one factor that's probably going to grab it and pull it along a little bit faster. Like I was saying, on the cone and the models, it's going to really speed up. Now let me put this back in motion. And notice the directions of the clouds out here. That's a high pressure system. They're rotating clockwise. Okay, that, and I'll pause it here. With that high out here, and its winds circulating clockwise, starting to push up on this thing. That is one thing that with the wobble that's been going on, it's been a little bit of the high pressure in the Gulf and this trough or upper level winds coming down and this high pressure out here trying to push up, from the bottom right corner of it. It's kind of made it wobble and it's kind of kept it close to the coast. Hey, thank you. So that high is going to help it to push up. So that's the steering factors. And this thing is the reason why this hurricane has been so much more difficult to forecast compared to other hurricanes is all these steering factors keep doing strange things to it. When it stalled out over the Bahamas, it had a high pressure system to its west and to its east. So the one to the west was trying to push down on it with the winds rotating around it. And the one to the east was trying to push up on it, and it was stuck. It was caught in between those two highs. So now that all that's gone, except for this high pressure, now we got the trough coming in. Now that's going to really help to push it out. I don't think it'll push it away from the coast, but it will grab a hold of it and move it along faster. Faster is good as far as landfall. We don't want it to sit in one place for 24 or 40 hours, which it was like somewhere around 40 hours. It was over Bahamas. I don't think it'll get back to Cat 4. It just doesn't look like it. But if it gets 1 mile per hour stronger, of course, nobody along the coast is going to be able to tell the difference. But it will make it a major hurricane again. Cat 3 and higher is major hurricane. So they're highly expecting it from some of the specialists that I've been listening to today. They're actually expecting it to make Cat 3 again. I don't think it will stay there because one thing that's going to be a factor now down there, along the Caribbeans and the eastern part of Florida, it has super warm waters. The further north you go, the cooler those waters get. So as it goes up the coast, it's going to be running into cooler and cooler water, and that's going to be one factor that's going to weaken it. I think it's still going to be possibly a Cat 2 when it hits the Outer Banks and up there at Cape Hatteras. I think it will still be a Cat 2. Either that or a strong Cat 1. That's the way the models are looking right now. It's just amazing. Just looking at water vapor, you could tell what all's going on in the atmosphere. It's really cool stuff. If it did, I haven't got an update on it yet, but I got about 4 minutes. Now that it's got all these warnings on it. Hey, Doc. But I'll be getting updates every hour. But the main updates uh, come 6 hours apart. So the next major update, which they've had hurricane hunters flying through it. So these hourly updates are going to, take that information and put it into the advisories. But the next major update won't be until 11 o'clock tonight. How you doing, Doc? Uh, as far as the flu goes, I feel pretty decent. But major trouble with back pain. The longer I set up here, it gets to a point where I'm about ready to scream. So let's go back to infrared while I'm zoomed out here. Now there's these other stores. There's like seven, I think, now of other storms. I'll freeze this. Yeah, this one that Fernand is down to a depression now, so I don't expect it to do anything except maybe bring some rain to like Brownville, Texas. It's going to die. Uh, I-26 is no longer reversed. Why is it back to normal when this thing hasn't even got there yet? That's weird. Yeah, Big D over on YouTube. It very well could. Now this hurricane that's out here, it's going to curve up and then back down. It's going to die. It's never going to hit Hawaii. That's what is that? Juliet? Yeah, I think that's Juliet. It won't be a hurricane for very long because it's going to curve up to the northwest according to the cone on it and then come back down and then it's going to die. So we've got Juliet in the Pacific, Fernand, we got Dorian, we got this little piece of, I don't know what you want to call it. That's not going to affect us. That's going away in colder water. There is a new area to watch right here on the coast of Africa. Let's get all the facts right here. Oh, we got Gabriel. That's a tropical storm. That's this one up here. That would be Gabriel. Just a tropical storm. Go to 5-day. Gabriel, only 50 mile per hour winds. The pressure is over 1,000. It's only moving at 9. So, and it's not going to do anything. It might get to hurricane on Monday, but I don't know. It's not going to affect us any. This area down here, it's got a 50-50 on a 5-day. And look at that cone. Anywhere in there, it could turn into a tropical cyclone. So I'll have to keep an eye on that one. Again, Ferdinand over here is going to die. This thing up here, it's not looking good at all. There is this one out here, 12E, but I don't think it's going to affect Hawaii any. And this one here, here's what I was talking about with Juliet. It'll get, it'll go from hurricane to tropical storm to tropical depression and then die. So we don't have to worry about that. Hawaii's safe. But man, to have all these storms, right here, we got this area to watch. We got Gabriel. I don't even think this one even has a designation anymore. I think it might have had an invest number, but I'm not sure that it still does. Then we got Dorian. We got Ferdinand. And we got Juliet. And then we got Tropical Depression 12. So that's all I have for now, folks. I will come back on with the 11 o'clock update. And most likely I'll be staying on a lot longer later on tonight. That's what I plan on anyway. Anybody got any questions while I'm still here? I only think it'll make it up to Cat 3. Once it speeds up and moves into cooler water, it's going to start falling pretty quick. They have it updated. Okay, I do have an update here. It's moving north nowadays. So it is starting to make that turn. Pressure dropped 1 millibar. It's 958. I haven't got none of my stuff updated yet. I'm waiting before I go anywhere. I want to see if it's Cat 3. It only needed to gain 1 mile per hour. 111 is where Cat 3 starts. I'm watching the Weather Channel. They're putting it up because I haven't got it yet. Yeah, I haven't got it yet. Yep, they haven't updated the page yet. Nope, still Cat 2, folks. 110 miles per hour. Now I do expect it by 11 o'clock in 2 hours when I come back. It's a good chance it's probably going to be a Cat 3. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's 1 mile per hour short. It's at 110, 111 would be Cat 3, which makes it a major hurricane again. But as I'm looking at the eye on radar and satellite, the appearance of it and with the pressure dropping again, that tells me it is getting stronger. So it's only got to gain 1 mile per hour. So yeah, I kind of figured they would, and I would show you that webcam, but you can't see anything on it once the sun went down. So okay, folks, I'm going to call it for now, and I got some things I want to do. I want to go back over the models again and try to put together a 11 o'clock update and presentation for you. So thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it. And which would be correct. Yeah, it's still causing damage. So that's all I got. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. Thanks for that sub and the new follows. And I'll be back here in about 2 hours. Catch you in a little bit. Or I forgot my slogan. Catch you on the next broadcast. There we go.